think I forgot to. Hmm. Testing. Hi, Lazy. Is everything working? Yay! Everything's working. Hmm.
No!
No. No, why? Why no, no? Why no? What did I do wrong? How am I so cute? I am doing great. I am cute. You are cute. We are cute. I am procrastinating. I am procrastinating so hard right now, you guys. I do not want to study for my final at all. Not even a bit. Things can't work here. Oh no. I guess you're right, mortal. I guess nothing can work. No works for us. Oh, make sure that you have water. I made sure to grab water. We'll be doing some reading. Oh my goodness. Ain't no way this is gonna put me to sleep. Is it too loud? No, I think it's good. I think it's good. There we go. Let's see. When is the ad? Where is the ad? What a coincidence. I was just listening to horror stories. Oh my god. Oh yeah. We should pick a number between... Oh yeah, alright. The ad is gonna start in 50 seconds. In the meantime, I'll let you guys pick a number between, I believe, 1 and... How many stories did we have again? Wait, that's an introduction. No, where's this? Gosh dang. Where's the... Did they take it away? Oh, there they are. Okay. But yeah, we have like so many. There's like between 1 and 100 at least. So y'all are free to pick any of them. There are literally so many. Why is this? How come you're not working? There we go. How's 50? 50? I think we can do 50. If I can count, that'd be great. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. We're gonna read a story about some king. And yay! Ad's done. Okay, here we go. Hello? Yay! Hi, you guys. It's good to see you. We... Oh. How do I fix that? No, we're fine. We're good. I think. Meow. Meow. Oh, I should not make that timer 10 minutes though. I think we only have 5 minutes of tummy time. Yeah, 5 minutes of tummy time. But here we go. Hi, yo, yo, yo. What's in the his house? Oh, it looks like I'm not wearing a shirt. Oh my god, Dan! I saw you making things. You were doing Gunpla. I, um, I think I was lurking for as long as I could before I had to eat. Oh, thank you for the stretch. Drake and Kendrick. Drake and Kendrick? Drake? What's a song I know? I only love her partly. I only love my bed and my mom. I'm sorry. I think. I think that's God's plan. Yeah, that's this song. But hi, I'm glad you're doing okay. Oh, of course, I would love to. I'm a big lurker. I am lurking. I am sneaking up on you guys all the time. All of the time. I can't help myself. But yeah. You sent me an attempt at drawing me and Ignis in gorilla art style. I can't wait to see it later. Drake and Kendrick have been doing a whole rap beef. It's been getting wacky. Oh wow. I can't wait to read the drama. Let me think. Was there anything else I wanted to tell you? Nope. I'm just procrastinating. I am procrastinating the hickety Sam heck out of this. I do not want to do my my final at all. Not even a little bit. Not even as a treat to myself. So we are going to frickin' skip on through that. Should I be out of the loop on the rear beef? For my own sanity. Oh no, there's no sanity here. A break is totally okay to do? Oh yeah, but a break would imply that I've started studying. And I haven't. But in my defense, I did the calculations and I only need a 31 to pass the class. So, you know, why bother is my motto. Why do that when I can hang out with the grandkids? You know what I mean? Also, I'm going to not use the whisper voice. I feel like that doesn't really work with some of the stories, especially number 50, which is the one that we picked this time. Table of contents. Hello. Where did they go? Oh, there they are. Okay. Okay, so number 50 was some king with like a beard. There it is. That one. Oh, wait. How far down does it go? So you guys stop reading the nap. Okay, so I'll just make sure that I stay about that level. Okay. Also, it seems like you guys got a little bit cut off. 1 second. I don't want to make it unfun for you guys. Okay. Alright. Man. I did start studying. Cough, cough. Oh, yeah. You're right. Cough, cough, cough. I totally did. We're totally studying right now. We're reading. That constitutes a study. If Willy Wonka came up to me and said, go nuts in his factory, what would I create? I would create chocolate rabbits that actually, like, move. I think that would be cute. And it would also give me exercise because I fucking pack those away. I eat them so fast. So fast. I have no self-control when it comes to that. Not a bit. Oh. He's short and now there's talking about serious stuff. Damn. Damn. Hello? Hello? Oh yay, there you are. I would dip a blueberry in chocolate and then pop rocks and call it blueberry poppers. Cute. I like that. I bet it would be good on pancakes. Now I'm hungry, damn. Alright, here we go. A king had a daughter who was beautiful beyond measure, but so proud and haughty
Yeehaw!
with all that. Oh, a yeehaw, a yeehaw, that no suitor was good enough for her. She sent away one after another and ridiculed them all. Damn, where am I? There we go. Once the king had made a great feast and invited everyone thereto from far and near, and all the men likely to marry. They were all marshaled in a row, according to their rank and standing. First came the kings, then the grand dukes, then the princes, the earls, the barons, the gentry. Then the king's daughter was led through the ranks, but to every one she had some objection. One was too fat, one had a wine cask, another too tall, long and thin and little. The third was too short, short and thick and never quick. And the fourth was too pale as death. The other too red. I'm fine. The fifth too red, a fighting cock. The sixth was not straight enough. A green log tried to the snow. Honey, if he ain't straight enough, I think you're barking up the wrong tree, darling. So she had something. And again, she's had something to say to everyone. I'm not an actual child. Stop. Don't tell me you didn't laugh, alright? You laughed. I made a pokey rap. I can sing the poker rap. I'll do it for real. Next, I'm writing that down. Karaoke stream, add pokey rap. Pokemon rap. Karaoke. Alright. So she had something to say to everyone, but she made herself especially merry over a good laugh. The king stood high up in the room. His chin was grown a little crooked. Well, he has the chin like a thrush's beak, and from that time on he got the name King Thresherbeak. But that old king, he saw that daughter did nothing but mock people and despise all that gathered there, and he was angry and swore she would never have a husband for the very first beggar that came through them doors. Did you see Diary? Oh, did you? Yeah, Digi did art. I thought it was really pretty. You should read Dracula at some point. Oh yeah, it's like a diary entry. Some of them are really funny. If I can find it on here on the website I use for free to use books. An ASR stream. Nap time. Nap time. Good night. Oyasumi nasai bonne nuit. Well, a few days afterwards, a fiddler came and sang beneath the windows, trying to earn a small alms. And when that king heard him, he said, "Let him come up." So the fiddler came in his dirty, ragged clothes and sang before the king and his daughter. And then he ended, he had a trifling gift. The king said, "Your song has pleased me so very well. I'm making you the daughter's wife. No, I'm giving you my daughter as a wife." The king's daughter shuddered, but the king had said, "I have taken an oath to give you the very first beggar I keep, and I'm gonna keep that." All she could say in vain, and all the priests were brought, and she had to let herself be wed to the fiddler on the spot. Well, when that was done, the king said, "Now it's not proper for you, a beggar woman, to stay any longer in my palace. You can go away with your husband." And the beggar man led her out by hand, and she was obliged to walk away on foot. Moral of the story, if you're an asshole, get the fuck out. I really liked that one. That was cute. It was a cute, short little story. As the great Maui said, I can't, what can I say except you're welcome for making hungry, hungry, hungry. Hum, hum, hum. What can I say except you're welcome for the sun and the science scheme. Okay, where's the... Okay, so this is page 10. Okay, so page 10 is where we got him. A free copy for your convenience. Oh. Oh ho. Okay. Okay. Do we want to start reading Bram Stoker's Dracula? I mean, we don't got to, but you know, I wouldn't be saying no. Just to hear John food blogging and being ignorant about the genre he's in, absolutely. Alright. I feel like the Brothers Grimm and Dracula, they're kind of similar, you know? So what if we just copy? Okay, what if I did, okay, ambiance, storm, night. Thunder and rainstorms? Well, boy howdy. Oh, hell yeah. Loop. Dang. One's about a hot vampire, the other's about a random occurrence in a forest. Mostly the same. Okay. Boop. Boop. Yay. Oh, that's tiny. That's tiny. Can I make that bigger? Oh, hell yeah. Oh, absolutely hell yeah. Alright. Oh, wait. I'm supposed to be scary. I think there was a way to do it. Oh, shoot. I done forgotten. How do I do that? Wait a second, darling. I think I can put it on. Hello? Nah, you're fine. We're fine. I'll do mood lighting next time. Because I think mood lighting's gonna take too long and I want to get reading. If I wasn't practicing, I'd be drifting off so fast. Oh my god, hi crab. Hello, my little crabito. Thank you again for that, for the coffee. I got myself a frosty after our reading stream. Although I think we're a little too damn loud for this. Let's turn you down just a tad, darling. Better? I think we're better. Yeah. What flavor frosty? Chocolate, obviously. It's my favorite. How could I not get it? Alright, here we go. I'm gonna take a sip of water. A little water. Okay. Chocolate's good. Orange dreamsicle's good too. I'm just a chocolate girly. Alright, here we go. Kept in shorthand. May 3rd, Bristus. Left Munich at 8:35 p.m. on Sunday, May 1st. Arriving at Vienna early the next morning. Should have arrived at 6:46, but the train was an hour late. Budapest seems a wonderful place, but the glimpses which I got of it from the train and the little I could walk through the streets. I feared to go very far from the station. We arrived late, and we would start as near to the correct time as possible. The impression I had was that we were leaving the west and entering the east. The most western of splendid bridges was over the Danube, Danube, which is here of the noble width and depth. They took us all amongst the traditions of the Turkish rule. What if we turned fairy tales emo? As a former emo girl, I feel like that's fine. I mean, was I emo? Emo or goth? Maybe scene. I don't know. They're all the kind of same. I know that one has bright colors. One has more like spikes. It was mostly just a lot of black. Just a lot of black in my wardrobe. We left in pretty good time and came after nightfall to Klausenberg. Here I stopped for the night at the Hotel Royal. I had for dinner, or rather supper, a chicken done up some way with red pepper, which was very good but made me very thirsty. Memo, get the recipe for Mina. He got a girl. He got a girl. I asked the waiter, and he said it was called paprika hindla, and that, as it was a national dish, I should be able to get it anywhere along the Carpathians. Carpathian? Carpathian. I found that my smattering of German was very useful here indeed, but I don't know how I should be able to get on without it. Oh, you made it too salty. You didn't even use salt. Did you use MSG? That can be a little salty too. Having had some time at my disposal when in London, I visited the British Museum and made search among the books and maps in the library regarding Transylvania. It struck me then that some foreknowledge of the country should hardly fail to have some importance in dealing with the noblemen of that country. I find that the district he named is extremely east of the country, just on the borders of the 3 states: Transylvania, Moldavia, and Bukovina. Bukovina. Bovan. I used onion powder and pepper. I don't know why it would taste that way. Maybe you have L skills? Why am I doing that? Why is my body... 1 second. How do I... Boop. Hello? Hi. Why are you like this? Physics... Wind? Strength? I don't understand. Probably. Is there a storm in the background? I did. Did I fix it? I kind of fixed it. You know, it's fine. It's better than nothing. Okay. Alright. Alright, y'all. I'm back. Okay. What was I doing? Oh yeah, I'm reading. Where's my tab? What happened to Gracie? I disappeared. I'm so sorry, darling. Lo siento mucho, mi chiquito angelito. Oh my god, Lazy. Don't tell me, darling. Did you just show up just to turn my tummy back on? Oh my god. You know what? Fair. I just noticed something. My name is 1 letter off from the spelling Grease. Grease lightning, go grease lightning. Perhaps, mayhaps, can't prove anything. Just change an A to an E. Okay. Here we go. Where was I? Oh yeah. Having had some time at my disposal. Wait, no, we already did that. Oh yeah, we were at the border of the 3 states, Transylvania, Moldavia, and Bukovina. In the midst of the Carpathian Mountains, one of the wildest and least known portions of Europe. I was not able to light on any map or work giving the exact locality of the Castle Dracula, as there are no maps of this country, as yet to compare with our own ordnance survey maps. But I found that Bistris, the post town named by Count Dracula, is a fairly well-known place. I'll enter here some of my notes, and then may refresh my memory when I walk over on my travels with Mina. Dracula was inspired by Vladimir the Impaler? In the population of Transylvania, there are 4 distinct nationalities. The Saxons in the south, the mixed with them in the Wallachs, and who are descendants of the Dacians. Magyars in the west, and Zacchaeus, You'd be surprised how far back, but and varied the vampire lores. Yeah. There's also like, I think my favorite bit that gets taken out a lot is like the OCD one where they like are obsessed with numbers, and that if you really wanted to escape a vampire, all you had to do was drop like a bag of different marbles on the floor, and they would be compelled to fix them. I feel like that's like kind of a missed opportunity, or the fact that they can't cross running water. Oh my god, can I speak? Digi, my Digi, where's my little speaker? Oh no. Not their fairies you're talking about? Oh, damn. Oh, I'm going along the ladder who claim to be descended from Attila the Hun. This may be found that the Huns were settled in. I read that every known suspicion in the world is gathered by the horseshoe of the Carpathians, and if they were the center of some sort of imaginative whirlpool, if so, I may stay very interested. Memo: I must ask the Count about all of them. Honestly, Grace would make a good fairy tale character. A good fairy character. I would be a fairy? I'm a fae? Aw, thanks. I promise I won't steal your name. Or bite your ankle. I didn't sleep very well, though my bed was comfortable enough, for I had all sorts of queer dreams. There was a dog howling all night under my pillow, which meant... Excuse me. What the Sam Hickety heck? Huh? Which may have had something to do with it, or it may have been the paprika, for I had to drink up all the water in my carrot. And I was still very thirsty. Same, bitch. Towards morning, I slept and walked. Huh? Towards morning, I slept and walked by the... Towards morning, I slept and was awakened by the continuous knocking at my door. So I guess I must have been sleeping soundly then. I had for breakfast more paprika and a sound helping of porridge made with maize flour, which they said was mamaglia, an eggplant stuffed with the force meat, a very excellent dish which they called empletada. Get the recipe for this also. I had to hurry for breakfast, for the train started a little before 8, or rather, it ought to have done so, for after rushing to the station at 7:30, I still had to sit in the carriage for more than an hour before we began to move. What? It seems to me that the farther east you go, the more unpunctual the trains are. What must they be like in China, then? All day long, we'd seem to dawdle through a country which was full of beauty of every kind. Sometimes we saw little towns or castles on the top of steep hills, such that we had old missiles. Sometimes we ran by rivers and streams which seemed to be the wide stony margin on each side of them to be subject to the great floods. It takes a lot of water and running strong to sweep the outside edge of a river very clear. At every ebb, oh my blah 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 blah. See, he's a food blogger. Oh my god. Johnny, come on, man. Give me vampire. Oh? Uh-oh. But yeah, he doesn't steal their ID card, social security card, target employee number, their flight passport. He didn't do any of that at all. Oh my god. At every station, there were groups of people, sometimes crowds, in all sorts of attire. Some of them were just like the peasants at home, or those I saw coming through France and Germany, with short jackets and round hats and homemade trousers. But others were very picturesque. The women looked pretty, except when you got near them, but they were very clumsy about the waist. They had all full white sleeves of some kind or another, and most of them had big belts with lots of strips of some kind of fluttering, like the dress in a ballet. But of course there were petticoats under them. The strangest figures we saw were the Slovaks, who were more barbarian than the rest. Okay, with their big cowboy hats, big dirty white trousers, linen shirts, and enormous heavy leather belts nearly a foot wide, all studded with brass nails. Fuck you. That's cowboy aesthetic 101. Johnny, you're a this man's a fucking city boy, y'all. Come on now. Although I'm telling y'all, if we had a cowboy in charge of this, Dracula ain't surviving the first night. Guaranteed. No wonder they had to make it about a city boy. On the stage, they would sit down at once at some band of brigades. They are, however, as I am told, very harmless, rather wanting a natural self-assertion. Self-assertion. Alright. Little racist, but okay. It was on the dark side of twilight when we got to Bistris, which is a very interesting place. Being practically on the frontier, it had a very stormy existence, and certainly showed marks of it. 50 years ago, a series of great fires took place, which made terrible havoc on 5 separate occasions. At the very beginning of the 17th century, it underwent a siege of 3 weeks and lost 13,000 people, the casualties of war proper being assisted by famine and disease. Oh, there's a cowboy later. Make sure to give him that Texan accent. Oh, darling, I guarantee it. Finally getting some good fucking representation around here. Lizard man sorceress, but the lizard man part isn't on. An alms for the poor. If Gracie met Dracula 5 seconds later, Dracula has to pay child support. Bitch. I'm not a Dracula girly. Like, come on, man. Can you not tell what kind of monster I'm into? Is it not obvious? Like, come on, man. Come on now. You know. You know exactly what I'm into. And it ain't little twigs that ain't got no meat on them bones. I don't like desiccation. Do not call me Edgar Allan Poe. I am not wanting an Annabelle Lee. They look like elongated skinny versions of axolotls. Carbonara? Pasta man. Yeah. Yes. Pasta. I love pasta so much I'm gonna fucking marry it. Alright, here we go, y'all. Oh? Hello? There we go. Okay. Count Dracula had been directing me to go to the Golden Krone Hotel, which I found to my great delight to be thoroughly old-fashioned, for of course I wanted to see all that I could of the ways of the country. I was evidently expected, for when I got near, the door, I faced a cheery-looking elderly woman. It's me. On a peasant dress. Oh, okay. You know, I'm saving up for retirement, man. Come on, give me a break. When I came closer, she bowed and said, the Air Englishman. Yes, Jonathan Harker. She smiled and gave some message to an elderly man with white sleeves who had followed her to the door. He went, but immediately fetched a letter. My friend, my friend, welcome to the Carpathians. I'm anxiously expecting you. Sleep well tonight. Blah, blah, blah. At 3 tomorrow, the diligence will start for Bukovia, a place that is kept for you. At the border pass, my carriage will await for you and will bring you to me. I trust that your journey from London has been a happy one, and that you will enjoy your stay with my beautiful land. Your friend, Dracula. Blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. No cringe. No cringe here. We're fine. I showed Ignis my version of Casey Jones. Ah, thank you for sending it. Oh, we're on a new day. My friend. Let us see. The creeping of Adam Sandler's Dracula saying I do not. I don't see that. May 4th. May the 4th be with you. And you as well. I found my landlord had gotten a letter from the Count, directing him to secure the best place for the coach. But, on making inquiries as to the details, he seemed somewhat reticent. And he pretended he couldn't understand my German. Why, this couldn't be true because up to then he had understood it perfectly. At least he answered all my questions exactly as if he had. He and his wife, the old lady, looked at each other in frightened sorts of ways. He mumbled out that the money had been sent in a letter, and that was all he knew. When I asked him if he knew Count Dracula, and could tell me anything of his new castle, both he and his wife crossed their arms, and saying that they knew nothing at all, refusing to speak further on the matter. I didn't think I wrote that much. That was so long. Huh? Rip? Ruh-roh. It was near time for starting that I had no time to ask for anyone else. It was very mysterious, and not by any means comforting. Just before I was leaving, the old lady came up to my room and said very hysterically, "Must you go? Oh, young heir, must you go?" She was such excited state that she seemed to have lost her grip of what German she knew and mixed it all up with some other language which I didn't know at all. I was just able to follow her by asking so questions, and when I told her I must go at once, I was engaged on important business, but she said again, "Do you not know what day it is?" It was May 4th. But she shook her head and, "Oh yes, I know that, I know, but do you know what day it is?" On my saying that I don't understand, "It's the eve of St. George. Do you not know that tonight, when the clock strikes midnight, all the evil things in the world will have full sway? Do you not know that where you are going and what you are going to do?" She was so evident in such distress, and I tried to comfort her, but without effect. Finally, she went down on her knees and implored me not to go. Ayo? Sorry. However, there was business to be done, and I could allow nothing to interfere with it. He said no to the piche. I tried to raise her up, and gravely as I could I thanked her, but my duty was imperative that I must go. She rose and dried her eyes, and taking the crucifix around her neck, she offered it to me. I didn't know what to do, for as an English churchman, I've been taught to regard such things as some measure of idolatry. And yet it seemed so ungracious to refuse this old lady, and she was meaning so well that I put the rosary around my neck and she said, "For your mother's sake," and left the room. I'm writing up this part of the diary whilst I'm waiting for the coach, which is of course very late, and the crucifix is still around my neck. Whether it's the old lady's fear or the many ghostly traditions of this place, or maybe the crucifix itself, I don't know, but I'm not feeling nearly as easy in my mind as usual. But let me say goodbye. Here comes the coach. The rain is selling the vibes. Yay! I'm glad. I know that whenever I think of Dracula, I think of, like, you know, stormy weather. I just can't help it. Here we go. May 5th, the castle. The gray of the morning had passed, and the sun is high over the distant horizon, which seems kind of jagged, whether with trees or hills I know not, for it's so far off that big things and little things all get mixed up. Word, dude, fucking same. Without my glasses, I can't see nothing. Pasta Man solos Dracula, because he gets... and he's got tons of garlic. I mean, maybe. Oh, okay. Where was I? Oh yeah. There are many odd things to put down, and lest who reads them fancy that I dined too well before I left Bistris, let me put down my dinner exactly. I dined on what they called robber steak. Bits of bacon, onion, and beef seasoned with red pepper, strung on sticks and roasted over the fire, in the simple style of London cat's meat. The wine was golden Mediask, which produces a queer sting on the tongue, which is, however, not very disagreeable. I only had a couple of glasses of this, but nothing else. When I got to the coach, the driver had not taken his seat, and I saw him talking with the landlady. They were evidently talking about me, for every now and then, when they would look at me, and some of the people who were sitting on the bench outside the door, which they called word bearer, came and listened, and then looked at me, which most pityingly eyes. I could hear a lot of the words often repeated, very strange words, for there were many nationalities in the crowd. I quietly got my polyglot dictionary from my bag and looked them up. There were Orthodox, Satan, Polak, Hell, Stragojka, Witch, Vrolak, and Vlosak, Vukoslak, both of which mean the same thing, one being Slavic and one being Serbian, but it's either werewolf or vampire. Wow, bud. Damn, if only Sherlock Holmes were here. Rip. Memo. I must ask the Count of these strange superstitions. Yeah, ask him, see what happens. Start a wiki page about Pasta Man. Oh my god. Wario can solo Dracula because all he needs is garlic. Honestly, right? When we started, the crowd was round the inn door, but they all made the sign of the cross and pointed 2 fingers towards me. With some difficulty, I got a fellow passenger to tell me what they meant. He wouldn't answer at first, but on learning that I was English, he explained that it was a charm to guard against the evil eye. This wasn't very pleasant for me, just starting from an unknown place to meet an unknown man, but everyone seemed so kind-hearted and sorrowful and sympathetic that I couldn't help but be touched. I'll never forget the last glimpse I had of the inn yard and the crowd of picturesque figures all crowding themselves as they stood round the wide arch with its background of rich foliage, of oleander, orange trees, green tubs clustered in the center. Then our driver, whose wide linen drawers covered the whole front of the seat, Gotza, they called them, cracked his big whip over his 4 horses, and they ran abreast, and we set off for our journey. There's a concept of rumors, something all the legs talk about. Hello. Waluigi's supposed to be a vampire. Oh, well. Ruh-roh. I soon lost sight and recollection of ghostly fears and the beauty of the scene as we drove along. Although had I known the language, or rather languages, which my fellow passengers were speaking, I might not have been able to have been thrown off so easily. Before us lay a hill, sloping. What the fuck? Can I read? When you say if I was thinking about Ninjago themed weekend trip, a Ninjago themed weekend trip. Wow. Word. Tell me how that goes, bud. Before us lay a green sloping land full of forests and woods, with here and there steep hills crowded with clumps of trees or with farmhouses. The blank gable ending on the road. Oh, there was everywhere a bewildering mass of fruit blossoms, apples and plums and cherries and pears, and as we drove by I couldn't help but see the green grass under the trees sprawling with fallen petals. In and out amongst these hills was what they called the Mittelland. It ran the road, losing itself as it swept round grassy curves, or was shut out by the strangling ends of pine woods, which were here and there running down the hillsides like tongues of flame. The road was rugged, but still we seemed to fly over it with a feverish haste. I could not understand then what the haste meant, but the driver was evidently bent on not losing any time in reaching Borgo Prund. I was told that this road is in summertime very excellent, but that it had not yet been put in order after the winter snows. For this respect, it is very different from the general roads of the Carpathians. It's a very old tradition that they are not to be kept up in too good of order. Of old, the Hospiters would not repair them, lest the Turkish would think that they were preparing to bring in foreign troops. Beyond the green swelling of the hills of the Midland rose mighty slopes. Oh? Remixes for every season. Oh. Weekend Whip? Karaoke. Weekend Whip. Not Weekend Trip. Oh. It's a song. Wow. Excellent. Uh-oh. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit the mic. Okay. Right and left of us, there were towering... Huh? Did I mess up? Right and left of us, they towered, with the afternoon sun falling upon them and bringing out all the glorious colors of this beautiful range. Deep blues and bright purples of the shadows of the peaks, greens and browns where the grass and rock mingled, an endless perspective of jagged rock and pointy crags till they were themselves just lost in the distance, with snowy peaks rising grandly. Here and there seemed to be mighty rifts in the mountains, through which, as the sun began to sink, we saw now and again the white gleam of falling water. One of my companions touched my arm as we swept round the base of a hill and opened up to the lofty snowy-covered peaks of a mountain. It seemed as we wound our serpentine way to the right before us, look, Eastonsiek, God's seat. As we wound on our endless way and the sun sank lower behind us, the fact that the snowy mountain tops still held the sunset and seemed to glow out with a delicate cool pink. Here and there as we passed the Czechs and Slovaks, all in the picturesque attires, I noticed that goitre was painfully prevalent. By the roadside there was crosses, and we swept by, my companions all crossed themselves. Here and there was a pleasant man or woman kneeling before a shrine, who did not even turn round as we approached, seemed self-surrendered of devotion to neither eyes nor ears for the outer world. There were many things new to me. For instance, hayricks in the trees here and there were beautiful masses of weeping birch, white stems shining like silver. Oh no, now and again as we passed a Litterwagen, the ordinary peasant's cart, with long snake-like vertebrae calculated to suit the inequalities of the land. On this, there was surely to be seated quite a group of homecoming peasants, the Czechs with their white, the Slovaks in their colored sheepskins, the latter carrying lance fashion of their long staffs with axes on the end. As the evening fell, it began to get very cold, and the growing twilight seemed to merge with one dark mistiness the gloom of the trees, oak, bench, and pine, though in the valleys which ran deep between the burrs of the hills, As we ascended from the pass, the dark firs stood out here and again from the background of the late-lying snow. Sometimes, as the road was cut through the pine woods that seemed in the darkness to be crossing down upon us great masses of gray, which were there bestrewn from the trees, producing a peculiar, weird, and solemn effect, which carried on the thoughts and grim fancies engendered earlier in the evening, when the fallen sunset threw into the strange relief the ghost-like clouds which amongst the Carpathians seemed to wind carelessly through the valleys. Oh my god. Some of these words are big, man, big words. Oh, it's the name of the song. Whoops-a-daisy. Okay. Ash is a Ketchum fusion because they're both named Ash. Honestly, yeah. Like, missed opportunity, man. Okay. I wish to get down and walk upon them, and as we do at home, but the driver wouldn't hear of it. No, 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 you must not walk here. The dogs are too fierce. Evidently meant for grim pleasantry, and you may never have enough of such matters before you go to sleep. The only stop he would make was a moment's pause to light the lamps. When it grew dark, there seemed to be some excitement amongst the passengers. They kept speaking to him one after the other, urging him to further speed. He lashed the horses mercilessly, with his long whip and wild cries of encouragement urging them to go further. Then, through the darkness, I could see a sort of patch of gray light ahead, as though there was a cleft in the hills. The excitement grew greater. The crazy coach rocked on the great leather strings, swaying like a boat tossed on a stormy sea. I had to hold on. The road grew more level finally, and we appeared to just fly along. The mountains seemed to come nearer to us on each side, frowning down upon us. We were entering Borgo Pass. One by one, several of the passengers offered me gifts. They pressed upon me with an earnestness which would take no denial. They were certainly an odd and varied kind, but each was given with such simple good faith, with kindly words and blessings, and strange mixtures of fear-meaning movements, which I had not seen but outside the Hotel at Bistritz. The sign of the cross and the guard against the evil eye, but as we flew along, the driver would lean forward, and on each side the passengers, craning over the edge of the coach, peering eagerly into the darkness. It was evident that something very exciting was happening, or expected, but though I asked each passenger, no one would give the slightest explanation. This state of excitement kept on for some time, and at last we saw before us the passing opening on the eastern side. There were dark rolling clouds, and the air heavy, oppressive sense of thunder. It seemed as though the mountain range had separated two atmospheres, and that now we had to go into the thunderous one. I was now myself looking out for the conveyance which was to make me to be the Count. Each moment I expected to see the glare of lamps through the blackness, but all was dark. The only light was the flickering rays of our own lamps, in which the steam from our hard-driven horses rose like a thick white cloud. We could now see the sandy road lying white before us, but there was no sign of a vehicle. The passengers drew back with a sigh of gladness, which seemed to mock my disappointment. I was already thinking I had to do my best when the driver, looking at his watch, said to the others, "An hour less than the time." Turning to me, he said in German worse than my own, "There is no carriage here. The heir is not expected after all. He will now come to Bukovina and return tomorrow or the next day, better the next day." Whilst he was speaking, the horses began to neigh and plunge wildly, so that the driver had to hold them up. Then, amongst a chorus of screams and a universal crossing, a calèche with 4 horses drove up behind us, overtook us, and drew up beside the coach. They were driven by a tall man with a long brown coat and a great black hat, which seemed to hide his face from us. I could only see the gleam of pale, bright eyes, which seemed red in the lamplight, as he turned to us. He said to the driver, "You're very early tonight, my friend." The man stammered out that the English heir was in a hurry. That is why I suppose he wished him to go to Bukovina. You cannot deceive me, my friend. I know too much, and my horses are swift. He smiled, the lamplight belling on a hard-looking mouth with very red lips and sharp-looking teeth, white as ivory. One of the companions whispered to another, "Lenord, for the dead travel fast." Oh, a line from Lenord. The strange driver evidently heard the words, for he looked up with a gleaming smile. Red eyes? Gotta be fine, right? Right? Like, man, the way this man is missing red flags, you'd think he, like, enjoys danger. Give me the heir's luggage. Then he descended from the side of the coach as the calèche was closing alongside, the driver helping me with a hand which caught my arm in a grip of steel. He's... Oh my god, I'm sorry. Goodness gracious. In a grip of steel. His strength must have been prodigious. Without a word, he shook his reins, the horses turned, and we swept into the darkness of the path. The driver cracked his whip and called his horses, and off they swept, on their way to Bukovina. As we sank into the darkness, I felt a rather strange chill. A lonely feeling came upon me. But there was a cloak thrown over my shoulders, and a rug across my knees, and the driver said in excellent German, "The night is chill, mynheer, and my master the Count bade me to take care of all of you. There's a flask of plum brandy from the country underneath the seat if you would require it. Who would you cast as Dracula? I don't know. Maybe Christian Bale? Wait, no. I think the best Dracula would probably have to be Nicolas Cage. He was funny. Very full of himself. He did a really good job. I think had there been any alternative, I would have taken it instead of prosecuting that unknown nightly journey. The carriage went at a hard pace straight along, and when we made a complete turn, we went along another straight road. I took note of the salient point and found that it was so. I would have liked to have asked the driver what this all meant, but I really feared to do so. I thought that, pleased as I was, and any protest would have no effect in case there had been an intention to delay. By and by, however, I was curious to know how the time was passing, so I struck a match and by the flame looked at my watch. It was within a few minutes of midnight. This gave me a sort of shock, for I suppose the general superstition about midnight was increased by my recent experience. I waited with a sick feeling of suspense. Heck yeah, that sounds cool. Thanks. Tucking Johnny in. Aww. I know, right? Making sure he's all nice and snuggly cozy. A dog began to howl somewhere with a farmhouse far down the road. A long, agonized wailing from fear. The sound was taken up by another dog, and another as we passed till, borne to the wind, sighed softly through the past, the wild howling began. It seemed to come from all over the country as far as the imagination could grasp it through the glooming night. At the first howl, the horses began to strain and rear, but the driver spoke to them soothingly, and so they quieted down. But they shivered and sweat as though after running away from the sudden fright. Far up in the distance from the mountains on each side, there was a louder, sharper howling, like that of wolves, which affected both the horses and myself. I was minded to jump from the calèche and run, while they reared again and plunged wildly. The driver had to use all his great strength to keep them from bolting away. In a few minutes, however, my own ears got accustomed to the sound, and the horses so far became quiet that the driver was able to descend and to stand before them. He pet and soothed them and whispered something in their ears, as I've heard of horse tamers doing, and with extraordinary effect, for under his caress they became very manageable. Finally, we were off again, going far to the side of the pass when suddenly we turned down a narrow roadway which ran sharply to the right. It's obviously Andy Samberg's gonna be jumping. Okay, okay. Sorry. The image of Andy Samberg and Nicolas Cage having a movie together. It's too funny. Gonna go to bed. Oyasumi nasai, buenas noches. Good night. Oh, soon we were hemmed in the trees, which in places arched right over the roadway, till we passed as though through a tunnel, and again great frowning rocks guarded us boldly on either side. Though we were in shelter, we could hear the rising wind moaning and whistling through the rocks, and the branches of the trees crashing together as we swept along. It grew colder and colder, still and fine powder. Snow began to fall. Soon, we and all around us were covered with a white blanket. The keen wind still carried the howls of the dogs, though this grew fainter and fainter as we went on our way. The baying of the wolves sounded nearer and nearer, as though they were closing in around us from every side. I grew dreadfully afraid, and the horses shared my fear. The driver, however, was not in the least bit disturbed. He kept turning his head to the left, then the right. However, this was not but I could not see anything through the darkness. Suddenly, away on the left, I saw a faint flickering of blue flame. The driver saw it at the same moment. He at once checked the horses, and jumping to the ground disappeared into the darkness. I didn't know what to do. The less that the howling of the wolves grew closer, but while I wondered, the driver suddenly appeared again, and without a word took his seat, and we resumed on our journey. I think I must have fallen asleep and kept dreaming of the incident, for it seemed to be repeating endlessly, and looking back, it's like a sort of awful nightmare. Once the flame appeared so near to the road that even in the darkness around us I could watch the driver's motions. He was rapidly to where the blue flame arose and gathered a few stones, forming them into some device. Once then appeared a gathering of a strange optical effect, where he stood between me and the great flame. But he didn't obstruct it. I could still see the ghostly flicker. It startled me, but the same effect was only momentary, for I took it upon my eyes deceiving me and straining through the darkness. For a time there was no blue flames, and we sped onward through the gloom with the howling of the wolves around us, as though we were following a moving circle. At last there came a time when the driver went further afield than he had yet gone, and during his absence the horses began to tremble worse than ever, and to snort and scream with fright. I couldn't see any cause for it, for the howling of the wolves had ceased altogether, but in the moon, sailing through the black clouds, appearing behind the jagged crest of a beetling, pine-clad rock, by the light I saw around us a ring of wolves, with white teeth, lolling red tongues, long sinewy limbs, and shaggy hair. You guys! It's my people! Grrr! I felt a sort of paralysis, full of fear. It was only then that a man feels himself face to face with such horrors, that he understands their true import. All at once the wolves began to howl, as though the moonlight had some peculiar effect on them. The horses jumped around and reared and looked helplessly around, in a sort of painful way to see, but the living ring of terror encompassed them on every side, and they had to perforce to remain within. I called to the coachman to come, for it seemed to me that our only chance was to try to break free. I shouted and beat the side of the coach, hoping by the noise to scare the wolves, so as to give him a chance to reach the trap. Maybe that means see? However he came there I know not, but I heard his voice raising to a tone of imperious command. I looked towards the sound, and saw him stand in the roadway. He swept his long arms as though brushing aside some impalpable obstacle, and the wolves fell back and further still. Just then, a heavy cloud passed across the moon, and we were shrouded in darkness once again. When I could finally see the driver was climbing back on, the wolves had all but disappeared. It was so strange and uncanny, and dreadful fear had come upon me, and I was afraid to speak or even move. We kept on ascending, with occasional periods of quick descent, but in the main always ascending. Suddenly, I became very conscious of the fact that the driver was in fact pulling up the horses on a vast ruined castle, from whose tall black windows came no ray of light, and whose broken battlements showed a jagged line crossing the moonlit sky. Oh, chimera. Here's an idea for Gracie's lore. It's a kind of Mary. A chimera, yes, but she can't remember her creator by any circumstances. He's forgotten them or been long since I don't remember them. I don't even recognize them. Oh no. Oh dear. I don't even recognize my poor grandchildren. Rip, man, rip. Jonathan's Journal, Chapter 2. May 5th, I must have been asleep, for certainly had I been fully awake I would have noticed the approach of such a remarkable place. In the gloom of the courtyard, it looked of a considerable size, and as several dark ways led from it under a great round arch, it perhaps seemed bigger than it really is, had I not yet been able to see it by daylight. Can't wait. When the cache stopped, the driver jumped down and held out his hand to assist me. Again, I couldn't help but notice his prodigious strength. Dude, he's strong. Wow, I wonder what he does. Do you even lift, bruh? Come on, Johnny. His hand actually seemed like a steel vise that could have crushed me if he chose to. I could see in the dim light that the stone was massively carved for the great... Wait, sorry, I missed a step. He took me out of the seat, placed me on the ground, and beside me I could see a great door, old and studded with large iron nails. Projecting doorway of massive stone. In the dim light, the stone was massively carved, but the carvings had been much worn by time and weather. As I stood, the driver jumped again into his seat, took the reins, and they started forward and all but disappeared down to one of the dark openings. Water. Uh-oh. Water, water, water. Okay. I stood in silence where I was, for I didn't know what to do. Of bell or knocker there was no sign, and though these frowning walls and dark windows opening, it was not likely that my voice could penetrate. What sort of place had I come to, and what amongst the kind of people? What kind of grim adventure was on which I had embarked? Was it a customary incident in the life of a solicitor's clerk sent out to explain the purchase of a London estate? Solicitor's clerk. Mina wouldn't like that. Solicitor, for it's just leaving London. I've gotten word that my examination was successful. I'm a full-blown solicitor. I began to rub my eyes and pinch myself to see if I were awake. It seemed all like a horrible nightmare to me. I expected that I should suddenly awake and find myself at home, with the dawn struggling in through the windows. But my flesh answered the pinching test, and my eyes could not be deceived. I was indeed awake among the Carpathians. All I could do now was be patient and wait the coming of the morning. Just as I had come to this conclusion, I heard a heavy step approaching behind the great door, and saw through the clinking gleam of a coming light. There was the sound of rattling chains and clanking of massive bolts being drawn, and the great door swung back. Within it stood a tall man with a clean-shaven face, without any speck of color about him. He seemed in his hand an antique silver lamp, with the flame burning without a chimney or globe of any kind, throwing long quivering shadows as it flickered in the draught of the door. The old man motioned to me with his hand, with a courtly gesture, saying with excellent English, if in a strange intonation, "Welcome to my house. Feel free and of your own will." He made no motion to step towards me, stood still like a statue as though his gesture of welcome had fixed him into the stone. In that instant, however, as I stepped over the threshold, he impulsively moved forward, held out his hand to grasp mine with a strength that had me wince, an effect which was not lessened by the fact that it seemed as cold as ice, more like the hand of a dead man than a living one. And he said again, "Welcome to my house. Come freely, go safely, and leave something of the happiness you bring." The strength of the handshake was so much akin to that of the driver, whose face I hadn't seen, that for a moment I doubted if it were not the same person. Count Dracula? He bowed courtly and replied, I am Dracula, and I bid you welcome. Mr. Harker, to my house. Come in, come in. The night air is chill, and you must need to eat and rest. I protested that he take my luggage, but he insisted. Nay, sir. Nay. Nay, sir, you are my guest. It is late, and my people are not available. Let me see you to your comfort myself. He took me along a great passage, of which stone floor steps rang heavily. At the end of this he drew open a very heavy door, and I rejoiced to see a well-lit room with a table spread out for supper, in whose mighty hearth was a great fire of logs freshly replenished, flamed and flavored. Yum! The Count halted, putting down my bags, closed the door, and crossing the room, opening another, leading to a small octagonal room lit by a single lamp. Passing through this, he opened another and motioned me to enter. It was a very welcome sight. There was a great bedroom, well lit and warmed with another log fire, which sat atop a hollow roaring up with a wide chimney. The Count himself left my luggage inside and withdrew, saying before he closed the door, you will need, after your journey, to refreshen yourself by making your toilet. I trust you'll find all you wish. When you're ready, come into the other room, where you'll find your supper prepared. Is he gonna pee in a chamber pot? Maybe. I hastily make a toilet and went into the other room. Yeah, he made a toilet. Word, dude. I found supper already laid out, my host, who was on one side of the great fireplace leaning against the stonework, making a graceful wave of his hand. I pray to you, be seated and sup how you please. You will, I trust, excuse me that I do not join you. I've dined already, and I do not sup. Eat. I'm not hungry. Very Edward Cullen. I handed him his letter from Mr. Hawkins, and he handed it back to me after reading it once. One passage gave me a thrill of pleasure. Pleasure? Treasure. Measure. Roop. I must regret that an attack of gout from which malady I am constant sufferer forbids me from absolutely traveling up to my part. But I am happy to say that I've sent a sufficient substitute, one in whom I am every possible confidence. He's a young man full of energy and talent in his own way, very faithful disposition. He shall be ready to attend to you when you are willing during his stay, and shall take your instructions in all matters. He came forward and took off the dish, and I fell to it at once, an excellent roasted chicken. This, with some cheese and a salad and a bottle of Tokay, of which I had 2 glasses, was my full supper. During the time I was eating it, like the Count, asked me many questions for my journey, and I told him by degrees all that I had experienced. By this time I had finished, and by my host's desire I had drawn up a chair by the fire and began to smoke a cigar, which he offered me. I had now had the opportunity to observe him and found him of a very marked physiology. His face was strong, very strong. Aquifer? With a high bridge and thin nose and peculiar arched nostrils. He had a lofty domed forehead, with hair growing scantily around the temples, but profusely everywhere else. His eyebrows were very massive, almost meeting over the nose, with bushy hair that seemed to curl in on its own profusion. The mouth, as far as I could see under a heavy mustache, was fixed and rather cruel-looking, with peculiar sharp teeth. They would protrude over the lips, with remarkable readiness, showing astonishing vitality of a man of early years. For the rest, his ears were pale, tops extremely pointy. The chin was broad and strong, the cheeks firm, though thin, and the very general effect was one of extraordinary pallor. Dude, he literally has fangs. Come on, man. Johnny, you dummy. You fucking himbo, man. Come on now. Hitherto I'd noticed the back of his hands lay on his knees, and they had seemed rather white and fine, but Seeing them now close to me, I couldn't help but notice that they're rather coarse, squat fingers. Strange to say, there were hair at the center of the palm. Oh? I don't know if you guys know the old saying that you'll have a hairy palm if you beat it too much. But I guess Dracula, you know, he is kind of, you know, lonely up in this castle all by himself. I guess there's not much else to do. Rip to Dracula, man. Couldn't be me. I got too much riz for that. The nails were long and fine, cut to a sharp point. I couldn't help but repress a shudder. It had been that his breath was very rank. A horrible feeling of nausea came over me, with which I do not conceal. The Count, noticing it, drew back with a sort of grim smile, showing me that he had yet done his protuberant. For me, it was, you'll get a hairy hand if you stole too much. Oh. Yeah, that's way better. That's a way better moral story one. Oh my god. Damn. Maybe that's the Catholic in me. Or the former Catholic, I guess. I'm not a very good Catholic anymore. I don't go to mass. Damn. The Count's eyes were gleaming as he said, "Listen to them, the children of the night. What must they make? Ah, sir, your dwellers in the city cannot enter into the feelings of a hunter." But he rose and said, "You must be tired. Your bedroom's all ready, and tomorrow you'll sleep as late as you will. I have been away till the afternoon, so sleep well and dream well." He opened the door for me, and I entered my bedroom, and I was a sea of wonders. I doubt, I fear, I think strange things, for which I dare not confess to my own soul. He had gay thoughts. It do be like that. God keep me, if only for the sake of those near to me. May 7th. Uh-oh. We missed a day. Did he sleep the whole damn day? You know, that jet lag must have been strong. Oh, uh-oh. Boop. There we go. I've rested and enjoyed the last 24 hours. I slept till late, awoke of my own accord. I dressed myself and went into the room where we supped and found a cold breakfast laid out with coffee kept hot by the pot placed on the hearth. There was a card on the table which was written, "I shall be absent for a while. Do not wait for me." Signed, D. I set to it and enjoyed myself a hearty meal. When I was done, I looked for a bell so I might let the servants know, but I couldn't find one. There were certain odd deficiencies, considering their extraordinary evidence of wealth. The table was serviced of gold, beautifully wrought, and must have been immensely wealthy. The curtains and upholstery and sofas and chairs and hangings are all costly and beautiful fabrics. They must have been fabulously valued when they were made. They're centuries old, though in excellent order. I saw something like them in the Hampton Court, but they were worn and frayed and moth-eaten. Still, in none of the rooms was there a mirror. There wasn't even a toilet glass on my table, and I had to get the little shaving glass from my bag before I could even attempt to shave or brush my hair. I hadn't seen a servant anywhere, or heard a sound near the castle except for the howling of the wolves. I looked about for something to read, because I didn't know what to do in a castle until I had asked for the Count's permission. There was absolutely nothing in the room. There was a book, newspaper, no writing utensils, nothing. So I opened another door and found a sort of library. The door opposite mine I tried, but found it locked. While in the library, I found to my great delight a vast collection of English books. Whole shelves just full of them, bound volumes of magazines and newspapers, a table in the center littered with English magazines, though none of them were very recent. The books were most varied: history, geography, politics, political economy, botany, geology, law, all relating to England and English life. There were even such books referencing London dictionaries, the red and blue books, Whitaker's Almanac, the Army and Navy lists, and it somehow gladdened me to see it, the law list. Wow, how boring. Johnny, come on, man. Get some fiction in your life, dude. Well, while I was looking at the books, the door opened and the Count entered. He went on and said, "I'm glad you found your way in here. I'm sure there's much that will be interesting you. These companions," he laid himself on the books, "have been good friends to me. For some years past, ever since I had the idea of going to London, they've given me many, many hours of pleasure." Dude, I wasn't far off. Through them I have come to know you are great, England, and know her to be lovely. I've gone long through the crowded streets. No, I long to have gone through the crowded streets of your London, to be in the midst of the whirl and rush of humanity, to share in the life, the change, the death, all that it may have. I'm back! You're froze. Retro. A Frosty. I wish I had a Frosty. Count, you speak English very thoroughly. I thank you, my friend, but you're all too flattering. I fear that I am but a little ways off the road I should travel. True, I know the grammar and the words, but I don't know how to speak them well. Well, I think you speak excellent. Not so. When I know that, did I not move and speak in your London, none of them would know me, but for a stranger. That's not enough for me. Here I'm a noble, a boyard. The common people know me, and I'm a master. But a stranger in a strange land, he is not one. Men not know him. Ha ha! A stranger, they will speak. And I have longed to master that what I can, or at least none other than should master of me. You've come to me not alone as an agent of my friend Peter Hawkins, or to tell me all of my new estate in London. You shall, I trust, rest here with me a while, so that by talking I may learn the English intonation. And I would that you tell me where I make an error, or even the smallest slight. That I am sorry that I have to be away for so long today, but I'm sure you'll forgive me, for one has so many important affairs to handle. I'm currently watching an anime about an elf sorcerer. Anybody in the world that's a sorcerer dream like a scum of the earth, but the MC is a god sorcerer. Oh, what's it called? I love anime. I'm a big weeb. Let's see. Oh yes, certainly, I shall be helping you willingly. You may go anywhere in that castle that you wish, except where the doors are locked, where of course you will not go. There's a reason that all things as they are, and did you not see with my eyes and know with my knowledge, you would perhaps be understanding. I nodded as I heard. We're in Transylvania. Transylvania is not England. Our ways are not your ways. They shall be to you very strange. Nay, from what you have been told of your experiences already, I'm sure you see something strange that there might be here. This led to much conversation. It was evident that he wanted to talk. Bitch couldn't shut the fuck up. Oh my god. Sometimes he sheared off the Sometimes he veered off the subject, or turned the conversation to pretend not to understand, but generally he answered as I was most frank. Then as time went on, I became somewhat bolder. I would ask him some of the strange things of the preceding night. For instance, why was the coachman going to different places when he had seen the blue flames? He explained to me that it's common believed that certain nights of the year a blue flame is seen over many places where treasure has been concealed. That treasure's been hidden in the region through which you came last. It's the ground fought over for centuries. The Wallach and the Saxon, the Turk. Why, there's hardly a foot of soil in all this region that has not been enriched by the blood of the men, patriots, or invaders. In the old days, there were stirring times when the Austrian and Hungarian came up in hordes. The patriots went out to meet them and waited their coming on from rocks above the passes, where they sweep destruction onto them. When the invader was triumphant, he found but little, for whatever he had been sheltered from the friendly soil. But how can it blah 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 blah. Huh? Ruh-roh. Blah. Okay. But how can it be remained so long undiscovered when there's sure an index of the men? All I have to do is have the trouble to take a look. His lips ran back over his gums, the long, sharp canine teeth showing out strangely, and he answered me, "Because your peasant heart is a coward and a fool. Those flames only appear on one night, and that night no man of this land will, if he can help it, stir out of his doors. Dear sir, even if he did, he wouldn't know what to do. Even you would not, I dare say, be sworn to find these places again." Well there, you're right. I know no more than the dead, ever to look for them. We drifted off to other matters, until finally he said, "Come, tell me more of London, of the house which you have procured for me." Well, I placed them in order. I heard a rattling of china and silver in the next room, and as I passed through I noticed that the table had been cleared and the lamp lit, for it was time and by this time it was deep in the dark. I found the Count lying on the sofa, reading, of all things in the world, Bradshaw's Guide. When I came in, he cleared the books and paper from the table, and with them I went into the plans and deeds and figures of all sorts. He was interested in everything, and he asked me a myriad of questions. Archdemon still in on how to love your elf bride. Huh. Archdemon elf bride. Thank you for another recommendation. Well, my friend is... He had clearly studied beforehand all he could on the subject. When I remarked on this, he answered, "Well, my friend, is it not needful I should... When I go there, I shall be all alone, and my friend Harker Jonathan... Nay, pardon me, I fell into my country's habit. My friend Jonathan Harker will not be by my side to correct me. He will be in Exeter, miles away, probably working on papers of the law with my other friend Peter Hawkins." We went thoroughly into the business. Until I had come across a suitable place, I read to him the notes on which I'd made, and I inscribed here, "A Purfleet, on a by-road, I came across such a place as seemed to be required, where was displayed a dilapidated notice. The place was for sale. It was surrounded by a high wall, ancient structure built of heavy stones, had not been repaired for a large number of years. The closed gates, heavy old oak, with iron all eaten with rust. The estate is called Carfax, no doubt a corruption of the old Quarther face, and the house is four-sided, agreeing with the cardinal points of the compass. Etiquette. Oh my god, oh my god. Oh my goodness. Where was I? Oh, it contains in it all some 20 acres, quite surrounded by the solid straw. Blah blah. Oh my god. Fuck me. It contains in all some 20 acres, quite surrounded by the solid stone wall above mentioned. There are many trees on it, which may in place seem gloomy, but there's a deep, dark-looking pond, maybe a small lake, evidently fed by some spring, as there's water clear flowing all the way from a fair-sized stream. The house is very large, and of all periods back, I should say, to medieval times. One part of stone immensely thick, with very few windows, high up and heavily barred. It looks like part of a keep, and is close to an old chapel or church. I couldn't enter it, as I had not gotten the key, but the house had been added to very strangely, and I could only guess at the amount of ground it covers, which must be very, very great. There are but few houses close at hand, one being a very large house only recently added to, and formed into a private asylum. Oh my god. He's like, "You should live next to the loony bin. That's where you belong." However, it is visible from the grounds. When I finished my telling, he said, "I'm glad that it is old and big. I myself am of an old family, and to live in a new house would kill me. A house cannot be made habitable in a day, and after all, how few days go by to make up a century." Bitch, you are self-reporting all over the place, dude. Come on, Dracula, get it together. "I seek not gaiety nor mirth, nor the bright voluptuousness of sunshine, but which pleases the young and gay. I'm no longer young. My heart, through weary years of mourning the dead, is not attuned to mirth. Moreover, the walls of my castle are broken, and the wind breathes cold through the broken battlements. I love the shade and shadow, and would be alone with my thoughts if I may." Somehow his words and his look didn't seem to accord, or else maybe it was that his face was cast and his smile looked malignant and saturnine. Dracula doesn't get reported by HR because he is HR. Oh my god. I'm just picturing the idea of like, maybe like Dracula being stuck as like an HR representative, being like, "So We heard that you were inappropriately touching coworkers again. Or like, so we heard that you cursed out a client. Maybe we should not do that, okay? Okay. Let's see. Presently, with a oh, oops, there we go. Presently, with an excuse, he left me, asking me to put my papers together. On looking, I found in certain places little rings marked. On examination, I noticed that one was near London, on the east side, manifesting where his new estate was situated. Oh my god. I'm okay. We heard that you were playing the cheese tax song repeatedly, even though your coworkers said stop. Oh my god, no, they were playing the Joe Hendry theme song. Bless you, thank you. Thank you, bless you. It was better part of an hour until finally the Count returned. Aha! Still at your books, good, but you must not always work. Come, I have been informed that your supper is ready. The Count excused himself as he dined out on his being away from home. But he sat as the previous night and chatted while I ate. After supper I smoked as on the last evening, and the Count stayed with me still, hour after hour. I felt it was getting very late, but I didn't say anything, for I felt under obligation to meet my host's wishes in every way. I couldn't help but experience a chill coming over that one comes as dawn approaches, which is like in its own way the turn of a tide. They say the people who are near death die generally at the change of the dawn or the turn of the tide, and anyone who has, when they've tired and tied as it was to their post, experienced this change in the atmosphere when they believe it. Oh, thanks! Thanks! So sweet. What that? What the dog doing? Oh, whoop. Sorry. I don't know where that came from. I guess I just got that dog in me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All at once we heard the crow of a cock coming up coming up with preternatural stillness. And Count Dracula jumped to his feet. Why, it's morning again! How remiss I am to let you stay up so long. You must make your conversation regarding my dear new country of England less interesting, so that I may not forget how time flies. Finally, I pulled the curtains back, and I've written this day. How long is chapter 2? Oh, chapter 2 is almost done. Okay. May 8th. I began to fear as I wrote in this book that I was getting too diffuse, but now I'm glad that I went into detail for the first, for there's something so strange about this place that all in all I cannot but help feel uneasy. I wish I were safe out of it, for I've never come. If there were anyone to talk to, I could bear it, but there is no one. I can only talk to the Count, and oh my god, I fear I can only be myself with another living soul. If it does, I'm lost. Let me say at once how I am or be said. Luna? The boss is just Luna? From Hazbin Hotel. Oh, yeah. Well, I've only slept a few hours. When I've gone to bed, I'm feeling that I shouldn't sleep anymore. And so I finally got up. I hung my shaving glass by the window and was just beginning to shave when suddenly a hand was on my shoulder and I heard the Count's voice saying to me, "Good morning." I was startled, for it amazed me that I hadn't seen him. In staring, I had cut myself slightly, but I didn't notice it at the moment. I answered his salutation, but I turned to the glass to see how I had been mistaken. This time there was no error. The man was close to me, but I couldn't see him. There was no reflection at all. Dude, he's got no reflection. Come on now, you gotta know. You gotta know. Come on now. Jesus. This was very startling indeed. I laid down the razor and turned as I did, half round to look for some sticking plaster. When the Count saw my face, his eyes were blazing with a sort of demonic fury. He made a grab for my throat. I drew away and his hand touched the string of beads which held the crucifix. I made an instant change in him, for the fury passed so quickly I could hardly believe it. Dude, he literally tried to kill you! Come on now. Come on now, darling. You ain't... I gotta get that cowboy in here, y'all. He gotta kill him. Well, take care now. Take care for how you cut yourself. It's more dangerous than you think in this country. Away with it. It's a foul bauble of any man's vanity. He opened the window. With one wrench of his terrible hand, he flung the glass. You're kidding me. Bitch. Throw my property out a window. See how I treat you. He withdrew without a word. It was very annoying, for I don't see how I'm to shave now, unless with my watch case or the bottom of the shaving pot, which is fortunately made of metal. Oh, what a... I can't, y'all. Oh my god. What a peculiar man indeed. After breakfast I did a little exploring, but when I went to the stairs and found a room looking towards the south, why, the view was magnificent, and from where I stood there was every opportunity of seeing it. The castle's on the very edge of a terrible precipice. Stone falling from the window would have fallen 1,000 feet without touching anything. Here and there were silver threads like rivers, winding with deep gorges throughout the woods. I'm not in heart to describe the beauty, for had I seen the view I explored further, doors and doors and doors of plenty, all locked and bolted. No place save for the windows in the castle was there an available exit. This castle is a prison, and I am its prisoner. Okie dokie, y'all. I want to do some more... Where's it at? Hello? There it is. I want to do some more, there it is. I want to do more Grimm fairy tales. So y'all go ahead. Tell me what... I need another number. Oh, hello. There we go. That's better. I don't care what number. I just want some fairy tale loving in my life. The screen's black. Oh no. Is it? Wait a damn second. Oh, never mind. The empire business. I'm an empire. Wait, huh? Wait a damn second. What happened? Empire business achieved. What's that mean? Oh, hey! I've streamed for over 250 hours. Oh my god. The next one is 500. Oh my goodness. It took a few seconds. That's okay. That's okay. Oh my goodness. We're amazing. We got that endurance, baby. That's like more than 3 hours. I know, right? Wow, that's gotta be like at least 20. 14. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 3 little men in the forest. Reading about the dieback children, Hansel and Gretel. Hansel and Gretel. The 3 little men in the wood. Okay. Alright. There once was... Hello. Hello. Hi. There once was a man... Okay. There once was a man whose wife died, and whose husband died. And the man had a daughter, and the woman had a daughter. The girls were quite acquainted with each other, and they went out walking together quite often. And afterwards they would come to the woman in her house. Then said she to the man's daughter, "Listen, tell thy father that I would like to marry him, and thou shalt wash thyself in milk every morning, and drink wine. But my own daughter shall wash herself in water, and drink water." The girl went home and told her father what the woman had said, and the man said, "What shall I do? Marriage is a joy, but also a torment." At length he could come to no decision, and so he pulled off his boot and said, "Take this boot. It has a hole in the sole. Go with it up to the loft, hang it on the big nail, and pour water into it. If it can hold the water, I will again take a wife, but if it runs right through, I shall not." The girl did as she was bade, but the water drew the hole together, and the boot became full to the top. She informed her father of how it had turned out, and while he himself went up, when he came, she saw that she was right. He went to the widow and wooed her, and the wedding was celebrated. However, the next morning, when the two girls got up, there was nothing. What? No. There they stood before the man's daughter, milk for her to wash in and wine for her to drink. But before the woman's daughter stood water to wash herself and water to drink. The second morning stood water for washing and water for drinking, as well as for the woman's daughter. And on the third morning stood water for washing and water for drinking, and milk for washing and wine for drinking. And so on this continued. The woman became bitterly unkind to her stepdaughter, and day by day she did her best to treat her still worse. She was envious because her stepdaughter was still beautiful and lovely, and her daughter ugly and repulsive. Oh my god, girl, come on, chill. Once in winter, when everything was frozen hard as stone, hill and vale lay covered with snow, the woman made a frock of paper, called her stepdaughter near, and said, "Here, put this on your dress and go into the wood. Fetch me a little basket of strawberries. I have a fancy for some." Good heavens, no strawberries grow in winter. The ground is frozen solid, and besides, the snow's covered everything. Why am I to go in this paper frock? It's so cold outside, one's own breath is freezing. The wind will blow through the frock, and the thorns will tear it off my body. Oh? Ayo? Sorry. Will you contradict me again? Say that you go against, and do not show thy face again until you've gotten me a basket full of strawberries. Well, she gave her piece of hard bread and said, "This will last you the day. You'll die of cold and hunger outside, and you'll never be seen again by me." Well, the stepdaughter was obedient. She put on the frock and went out with the basket. Far and wide there was nothing but snow, and not a green blade to be seen. When she got into the wood, she saw a small house on which peeped 3 dwarfs. She wished them good day. She knocked modestly at their door, and they cried, "Come in, come in." She entered the room and seated herself on the bench by the stove, where she began to warm herself and eat her breakfast. "Give us too some of it." "Why, willingly." She divided her bread into 2, and then into half. "What are you doing in the forest at this time, in such a tiny dress?" "Oh, I'm to look for a basket full of strawberries, and I'm not to go home until I find them." Well, she finished her bread, but they gave her a broom and said, "Sweep away the snow at the back door with it." While she was outside, the 3 little men said to each other, "We'll give her, as she is good. She shared her bread with us. My gift is that every day she will grow more beautiful. My gift is that gold pieces shall fall out of her mouth every time she speaks. My gift is that a king shall come and take her to wife." Grace feels like a Pokemon. Every time I show her anime with a hot character, she faints. Yeah, hot characters. Where? I am such a thirsty grandma. Oh my god. Where was I? Oh yeah. The girl, however, did as the little men had bidden her, and when she was done sweeping the snow, why, she found ripe strawberries. They came quite dark red right out of the snow. In her joy, she gathered into her basket, thanked the men, shook their hands, and ran home to her stepmom. Oh, she went in and said good evening, and why, a piece of gold fell out of her mouth. Honestly, really though. Ignis looks hot. Ignis looks like a hot anime character. Grace, where he escapes out of the room. Huh? No. Ignis is not hot. His friend Jay, though, is. Now, look at her arrogance, to go and throw that golden away. "My dear little daughter, it's too cold, and you're gonna die of frostbite," she says to her own daughter. But, as the daughter had no peace, the mother at last would yield, and laid her a magnificent dress of fur. She was obliged to put it on, and gave her bread and butter and cake. Ooh, cake! The girl went into the forest and straight up to the house. The 3 little elves peeped out again, but she didn't greet them, and without looking round at them and without speaking to them, she went awkwardly into the room, seated herself by the stove, and began to eat her bread and cake. "Give us some of it," she said. "There's not enough. There's only enough for myself. How can I give it away to you?" She was done eating. She said, They said there's a broom for you. Sweep it outside the back door. Huh! Sweep for yourselves. I'm not your servant. When she saw that they were not going to give her anything, she left out the door. The little men said to each other, what shall we give her? With such a wicked heart, and so naughty, we'll never have a good turn for anyone. The first one said, have you heard of the Zuko meme, where Azula looks like Zuko, your honor, and Zuko's like, where? And Azula escapes. It's that, but Ignis. Oh, sorry, sorry, darling, that went straight over my noodle. The first one said, I shall grant that she may grow uglier every day. I grant that every word she says a toad will come out of her mouth. I grant she will die a miserable death. Well, the maiden looked for strawberries, but she found them, and so she went home angrily. She opened her mouth, and she was about to tell her mother what happened, when a toad sprang right out of her mouth. Everyone was seized with horror. The stepmother was even more enraged, and thought nothing of it but how to do every possible injury onto the man's daughter, whose beauty, however, had grown daily greater. At length she took a cauldron, set it afire, and boiled yarn. When she was done, she flung it onto the poor girl's shoulder, gave her an axe, and said, cut a hole in the ice and rinse the yarn. Oh my god. This poor woman was obedient, so she went to the frozen river, cut a hole, and rinsed the yarn. While she was in the midst of her cutting, a splendid carriage came up, in which sat a king. My child, what are you doing here? I am a poor girl, and I'm rinsing the yarn. Well, the king was filled with compassion. He said that she was so beautiful. Will you come away with me? Oh yes, with all my heart. Bitch? That's a stranger, darling. You can't do that. She got into the carriage and drove away with the king. They arrived at his palace, for the wedding was celebrated with great pomp and circumstance, and the little man had granted to the maiden. The young queen bore a son, and the stepmother had given her great fortune, because she came with her daughter to the palace, pretending she wanted to pay a visit. However, when the king had gone out and no one else was present, the wicked woman seized the queen by the head, and her daughter seized her by the feet, and they lifted her out of the bed and threw her out the window into a stream. The ugly daughter laid herself in the bed. The one covered her up to her head. When the man came home and wanted to speak to his wife, the cried, hush, 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 that can't be done. She's lying, with a violent perspiration. You must let her rest. Well, the king had no evil in his heart, and so he came again the next day, and he asked to talk to his wife, and she answered him, but every time she answered, a toad would leap out, where formerly a piece of gold. He asked what could be done, but the old woman said that she had gone from the violent perspiration. She would soon lose it again. During the night, however, the scullion maid saw a duck come swimming up the gutter. King, what are you doing now? Why are you sleeping? As he returned no answer, my guests, what may they do? They're sleeping soundly. What does little baby mine say? She's sleeping in her cradle fine. Oh, I think that's a rhyme. Well, she went up to the stairs, and the queen nursed the baby, took it in, shook it upon its little head, covering it over, and then swam away again into the gutter, into the shape of a duck. Wait, huh? She went upstairs in the form of the queen, nursed the baby, shook up its little bed, covered it over, and then swam away again down the gutter in the shape of a duck. She came thus for 2 nights, and on the 3rd she said to the scullion maid, go and tell the king to take his sword and swing it 3 times over me, over the threshold. Upon the 3rd time of swinging his sword, the wife stood before him strong, living, healthy, as she had before. The king was so full of great joy, but he kept the queen hidden in a chamber, and the baby was to be christened. When it was christened, he said, what does a person deserve who drags another out of bed and throws him in the water? The wretch deserves nothing but better than to be taken and put in a barrel stuck full of nails, rolled down the hill into water. That is what you have pronounced your own sentence. And the old woman... Wait, huh? He's ordered such a barrel to be brought, and the old woman to be put in it with her daughter, and the top was hammered shut, with the barrel rolling down the hill into the river. Oh my god. Y'all. Oh my goodness gracious. Murder. Homicide. Oh, she's too busy. That's okay. Well, that was awesome. I think y'all said you wanted Hansel and Gretel. Let's see, where's Hansel and Gretel? Gambling Hansel. But where's Hansel and Gretel? Control F. Gretel. Uh-oh. Oh, shit. Hansel and Gretel. There we go. What? Oh, there it is. Wait, how? Is it that short? Oh, it's longer. Oh, it's long. This might be our last one. Yeah, this will be the last one. Hello. Hola, buenos dias. Okay. I'm gonna take a sip of water. Make sure you guys are hydrating yourselves, okay? Okay. Hard by a great forest dwelt a poor woodcutter with his wife and 2 children. The boy was called Hansel and the girl Gretel. He had little to bite and to break, and once with great scarcity fell into the land he could no longer procure daily bread. When he thought over this by night in his bed and tossed and turned in anxiety, he groaned to his wife, "Oh, what is to become of us? How are we to feed our poor children when we no longer have anything for ourselves?" "I will tell you what, husband. Early tomorrow morning we will take the children out into the forest, where it's thickest. There will be little light for a fire. We'll give each of them 1 piece of bread more, and then we will go on to work and leave them alone. They will not find their way home again, and we'll be rid of them." Oh my god. "No, wife, I cannot do that. How can I bear to leave my children alone? The wild animals would soon come and tear them to pieces." "Oh, foul. No. Oh, you fool. We must all die of hunger. You may as well plane the planks of our coffins. I feel sorry for the poor children all the same." Well, the 2 children had also been able to sleep for hunger, and they heard what their stepmother had said. Gretel wept bitter tears and said to Hansel, "It's all over for us." Do not distress yourself, Gretel. I'll find a way to help us." And when the folks had fallen asleep, he got up, put on his coat, opened the door, and crept outside. The moon shone brightly, and the little white pebbles which lay in front of the house glittered like real silver pennies. Hansel stopped and put as many of them into the little pocket of his coat as he could. Hello? Ah, there we go. He went back to Gretel and said, "Be comforted, dear sister. Sleep in peace. God will not forsake us." When day dawned and sunlight came, the woman woke the 2 children, saying, "Get up, you sluggards. We're going into the forest to fetch wood." She gave each of them a piece of bread. "Here's something for your dinner, but don't eat it up before then, or you'll get nothing else." When they were all set out together, and they were walking for a short time, Hansel stood still and peeped back at the house, and did so again and again. "Hansel, what are you looking at there and staying behind? Mind what you are about, and do not forget to use your legs." "Oh, father, I'm looking at my little white cat, which is sitting up on the roof and wants to say goodbye." "Fool, that's not a little white cat, that's the morning sun shining on the chimney." Hansel had not been looking back, but constantly throwing one of the white pebbles out of his pocket. When they had finally reached the middle of the forest, the father said, "Now, children, pile up some wood, and I will light a fire so that you may not be cold. Children, lay yourselves and rest. We're going to go into the forest to cut wood. When we're done, we'll come back and fetch you away." Well, Hansel and Gretel sat by the fire, and when noon came, they ate their piece of bread, and they heard the strokes of the wood axe. They believed their father was near. It was not, however, the axe. It was a branch that was fastened to a withered tree, with the wind blowing on it fast. When they finally awoke after a great slumber, they found it already to be night time. Gretel began to cry. How are we supposed to get out of the forest now? But Hansel comforted her. Just wait a little until the moon has risen. We will soon find our way. They walked the whole night. They followed the pebbles, which shone like newly coined silver pieces, showing them the way home. Well, when the woman opened it and saw it was Hansel and Gretel, she said, "You naughty children, why have you slept so long in the forest? We thought you would never come back." The father rejoiced. It had cut his heart into pieces to leave them behind all alone. Not long afterward, they once saw great scarcity in all the parts, and the children heard their mother saying again to their father, "Everything is gone. We have one loaf left. After that there's nothing. The children must go. We need to take them farther, so that they will not find their way back again. There's no other means of saving ourselves." The man's heart was heavy, and said it would be better to share the last mouthful with my children. The woman would not listen to it, though, and scolded him. He who says A must say B, and likewise he had yielded to the first, and so shall he a second time. Well, the children were up once again, and they heard the conversation. "Do not cry, Gretel. Go to sleep. Good God will help us again." The children got out of their beds, bit their bread was given, and it was still smaller than the time before. "Hansel, why are you looking around again?" "Go on, I'm looking at my little pigeon sitting on the roof wanting to say goodbye to me." "Oh, you simpleton, that's not a pigeon, that's the morning sun shining on the chimney." But it was not that he was saying goodbye, but that he was throwing crumbs along the path. "Sit there, children, and when you're tired you may sleep a little. We're going into the forest to cut wood again, and by the evening when we're done we'll come and fetch you away." They didn't wake until it was dark at night, and Hansel comforted his sister once again. "Just wait, Gretel. When the moon has risen, we'll see the crumbs of bread which I strewn about." Oh, but when the moon came, they found no crumbs, for thousands of birds were eating them up. "We'll find the way," but they didn't find it. Hansel was forsaken. They were very, very hungry. They had nothing to eat but 2 or 3 bites. They found a couple berries on the ground and ate them, but still they were hungry. They were so weary that their legs would carry them no further, until finally they lay down on a tree and fell asleep. Come 3 mornings since they'd left their father's house, they began to walk again. It was midday, and they saw a beautiful white bird sitting on a bough, singing so delightfully that they had to stay still and listen. Once it had finished its song, it spread its wings and flew away. They found it delightful, and so they followed it until they came upon a little house. The windows were clear sugar. It was built like bread and covered in cake. "We'll set to work on that and have a hearty meal. I'll eat a bit of the bread, and Gretel, you can eat some of the window. It looks quite sweet." They had just started to nibble at the panes when a soft voice cried out, "Nibble, nibble, gnaw, who's nibbling on my little house?" The children answered, "The wind, the heavy-born wind." They went on eating without disturbing themselves. Hansel, though the roof tasted very nice, tore down a piece to eat it, and Gretel pushed out the whole round window, sat down and enjoyed herself with it. When suddenly an old woman, sporting herself on crutches, came creeping out. Uh-oh, uh-oh, Spaghetti-O. Hansel and Gretel were so terribly frightened that they let fall what they had in their hands. "Oh, you dear children, what has brought you here? Do come in and stay with me. No harm shall happen to thee." She led them into her little house, and then good food was set before them, with milk and pancakes and sugar and apples and nuts, and afterwards 2 pretty little beds covered in clean linen, and they laid down as though they were in heaven. The old woman had only pretended to be so kind, however. In reality, she was a wicked witch who lay in wait for the children. She'd only built the little house of bread in order to entice them. When the children fell into her power, she killed it, cooked and ate them, and had a feast for a day. Witches have red eyes and cannot see far, but they have a keen scent. Like beasts, they're aware when humans begin to draw near. She laughed once they came into her neighborhood. "Ha ha ha! I shall have them, and none shall escape me again." And before the children awoke, she was already up. She saw both of them sleeping, and looking so pretty with their plump red cheeks. She muttered to herself, "That will be a dainty mouthful." She seized Hansel with her shriveled hand, carried him to a stable, and shut him in a grated door. "Get up, you lazy thing," she said to Gretel. "Fetch some water, cook something good for your brother. He's in the stable outside, and he's meant to be fat. When he's fat, I'm gonna eat him." Honestly, would love to be there. Oh, you trespass on my sugary house? I'm full and would hate the smell of everything. I'm actually a little hungry. I think this might be our last story, so I can eat. When he's fat, I'm gonna eat him up. The best food was cooked for poor Hansel, but Gretel got nothing but crab shells. Every morning the woman would creep to the little stable and cry, "Hansel, fetch thy finger so I may feel how fat you are." But the old woman who had dim eyes couldn't see, and though she thought it was Hansel's finger, it was actually a little bone. When 4 weeks had gone by and Hansel still continued to be thin, she seized with impatience and could not wait any longer. "Hola, Gretel! Hola, Gretel!" "Hola? Hey, Gretel!" "No. That's weird. Hold, Gretel. Be active and bring some water. Let Hansel be fat or lean. Tomorrow I'll kill him and cook him." "Oh, dear God, help us," cries the poor young lady. "If the wild beasts in the forest had but devoured us, we should at any rate have died together." "Keep thy noise to yourself. All that won't help you at all." Gretel went out early in the morning and fetched a cauldron of water. She lit the fire. "We will bake first," said the woman. "I have already heated the oven and kneaded the dough. Creep in and see if it's properly heated so that we can shut the bread in." But when Gretel got closer, she intended to shut and bake it when she could eat her too. But Gretel saw what she had in mind and said, "I do not know how I'm supposed to do that. How am I supposed to creep?" "Oh, you silly thing," the old woman said. "The door is big enough. Just look. I can get in myself." She thrust her head into the oven. Then Gretel seized upon the witch and drove her farther in, shut the iron door, and fastened the bolt. Oh, she heard a howl quite horribly, but Gretel ran away, and the godless witch was miserably burnt to death. She ran like lightning to Hansel, opened the stable, and cried, "Hansel, we're saved! The old witch is dead!" And then Hansel sprung out like a bird from a cage. Oh, they rejoiced and they embraced and they danced and kissed, and they should no longer be feared of her. And they went to the witch's house, and in every corner there stood chests full of pearls and jewels. They're far better than pebbles, I should say. I too will take some home with me. They filled her pinafore full. "We have to go away so that we may get out of the witch's forest." They walked for 2 hours until they came upon a great lake. "We can't get over. I see no footplank and no bridge, and no boats either. But a white duck is swimming. If I ask her, she might help us." Little duck, do you see? Hansel and Gretel are waiting for thee. There's never a plank or a bridge in sight. Take us across thy back of white." The duck came to them, and Hansel seated himself on the back and told his sister to sit by. "No, that'll be too heavy for the poor little duck. She'll take us across one at a time." Finally, once they were both across, they ran, rushing to the parlor of their father, and threw themselves into his arms. Honestly, I think I could do a good Puss in Boots design. I am a Puss in Boots. Actually, wait, I don't have boots. Rip. Gretel emptied her pinafore until pearls of precious stones ran across the room. Hansel threw open another handful of his pocket, and suddenly the room was full of them. Then all anxiety seemed to end for the family, and they lived together in perfect happiness. My tale is done now. There runs a mouse. Whosoever catches it may himself have a big fur cap. I don't think that last sentence really works. Okie dokie. That was so awesome. I am so glad that we got to hang out again, you guys. Let me think. Are there any friends? Is that Bean? It's my man Bean! Okay. Here we go, you guys. Remember, we're here for a short time, so
I just wanted to say
thank you. Oh, my god, thank you.
I'm glad you came along, partner.
You're so sweet. You're like the Flash. Oh. Agile. Agile. We have 10 seconds. I can wait 10 seconds. Beans. Beans. Yeah. It's a cloud Pegasus. Oh my god, hi. Nay. I don't know why I did that. We're gonna ignore that. We're gonna pretend that didn't happen. Oh my god, that was so cringe. I'm sorry. Oh, I almost... Excuse me. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. Search. Bean. There we go. How come it's not... How come it's not working? Oh, I can start the raid. Okay. Does your model have a cheek puff? I don't know. Maybe not. So what was my stream about? Oh, we did books. We read books and it was great and I loved getting to hang out with you guys. Now it's time to go check out our boy Bean. And remember, we're here for a short time, so let's make it a fun time. And I'll see you guys on Saturday. Oh, you just got here? Oh no, I'm sorry, darling. But again, I stream every Thursday and Saturday. Who in the world is doing tummy time? Silver. I'm already tummy time. I'm so glad that I got to hang out with you guys. Oh, I have my final for class for my master's class on Saturday, so I will I think we'll do a later stream for Saturday to make up for it because oh my god. What on my life? The redeems be adorable. Thank you. I am very adorable. I think that I have great taste. But yeah, I will see you guys on Saturday. Like I said, it'll be kind of a later stream because my finals in the afternoon. And I'm gonna need to study because procrastinating is definitely not helping. But I love you guys. I love you so much. Hoy es domingo, bonne nuit, buenas noches. Que descanses, mi angelitos, y estamos. Oh, my Discord. All of my socials are the same. They're all the same. They're at the bottom. Except for Discord, there is no letter B. I think I can click start raid. Are we ready? I think we're ready. Let's give our bean some love. And I'll see you guys. Oh, yeah. What's the word? Oh, yeah. If you want to choose what we do on stream, make sure that you follow me on Twitter because you can tell me what to do. You can't find it. Rip. It's just Grandma Gracie. I don't know why it's not working. The bird is the word. Bird. But yeah. Oh yeah, Ignis is cooking like a lot of stuff. I'm sorry I'm bad at commands. I'm a grandma. I don't know how to turn them on. But here, I'll type it into chat real quick. Grandma Grace E. There we go. I hope that helps you. And it looks like we're all good to go. Okay, here we go. Good night. Did it work? Okay, thanks.